Yep.
Never give up hope. That's hope.
Am I live now? It says I'm live.
That's our little thing too that we always send notification that he's live. Yeah, you're live. There you go. Thanks, man.
Yeah. All right. Sorry, everybody. We finally got the technical difficulty squared away. Only took about 25 minutes, but glad to be here via Fan HQ, and hope everybody's first and foremost healthy, and taking everything in stride, because that's really all we can do. Hey, Dustin, how you doing? But so I'm going to be on here for a few minutes, maybe 20, 25, 30 minutes or so, answer some questions, tell some stories. And, so fire away. I can see everybody's comments right now. And if anybody has any comments or questions or any stories they'd like to talk about, feel free, and we'll discuss them. Yes, operator error for sure. I don't have Facebook myself, so getting on this was not easy. And then we had to verify my identity, and obviously I am not Fan HQ, so that took a little bit of running around. Jenny, what do I miss most about playing about baseball? I miss the relationships. I miss the camaraderie, the teammates. I miss talking baseball at an advanced level. I miss the restaurants on the road. But as far as stepping into the batter's box and competing, I don't miss it as much as I thought I was going to. I enjoy now watching my son and my daughters and hanging out with them and watching them grow up. That's my entertainment now. I was down at spring training. I was down there right when camp opened up. I usually go down there the first week of spring, right before games start. It allows me to kind of get in and work with some of the guys before games start. I remember when I was playing and games started, I wasn't, once games started, I knew what I had to do. I knew what I had to get situated and what I had to take care of. And that first week was nice to be able to, listen to guys like Rod Carew and when Harmon would come down and different guys. And that was when I was able to pick their brains. But once games started, I kind of knew what I had to take care of. So I've kind of taken that mentality now in this role when I go down there that first week. And, I try and talk to guys. They're a little more receptive that first week. So that's why I go down there then and enjoyed it. The team was great, was in good spirits. Looked good, obviously, and once we are able to get back on the field, they'll be able to play well. Favorite opening day moment? Yes, this would have been opening day, obviously, right? Man, obviously you remember your first opening days. My first opening day was in Detroit in 2003. Koski had gotten hurt maybe a week or so before the season was going to open. In 2002, I finished the season playing right field, and that's pretty much where I played all of spring training, was in right field. Koski went down a week before spring training, and then I went in and filled in at third base for a couple of weeks, and I didn't do the greatest. Got sent back down to AAA, and then ended up getting hurt. But just that first day, I remember taking ground balls. It was a day game. It was freezing in Detroit. Guardy comes up to me and says, "Congratulations, this is what you play for." And I had obviously played in the postseason. I had played in the ALDS and an ALCS prior to playing in an opening day. But I remember the excitement was unparalleled. It was pretty cool. But I after that, I always, ironically enough, I hated opening days. The pageantry of it. The butterflies, the uncertainty. I just wanted to get it over with and get on to the next 161 games. I just wanted to get opening day over with. Maybe my gut couldn't handle the excitement, but there was a lot of good ones, a lot of fun ones. But I enjoy them now as a fan. Let's see. What was the favorite stadium I played at? Oh man, you know I'm going to be honest with you. I loved playing in the Metrodome. It wasn't the obviously the greatest stadium, but it was a lot of memories, and it was home. It was the first double-decker stadium I'd ever seen, I'd ever played in, um, and you knew you were going to play every day. You knew you were going to play every day. You knew it was going to be 70 degrees every day. You knew what to expect. So I loved it. I love Target Field. Target Field's beautiful. I love playing in Fenway, Camden Yards. Um, Seattle's one of my favorite. Safeco Field was one of my favorites as well. But I mean, there's so many beautiful ballparks in the country. A few that I didn't like playing, and it's funny, it always coincides with where you don't do well. I didn't do well in Tampa. I didn't like playing in Tampa. I didn't do well in Cleveland. I don't like playing in Cleveland. Um, Oakland wasn't the greatest place in the world, but I felt like I had success, so I loved playing in Oakland. It coincides with how well and how bad you do in certain stadiums. But I definitely, the Metrodome was one of my favorites, and one that I do miss. Favorite Metrodome moment was probably Shane. Favorite Metrodome moment was probably 2006. I mean, there were so many. Don't get me wrong. First big league hit was in the Metrodome. 2009, game 163, obviously, but 2006, maybe it was because of the first time we did this, and we hadn't been in first place the whole season, and we're going through it, and game 162 we win and still not in first place, and then the Tigers lose to the Royals, and then we jump them when our season was over. But being able to celebrate out on the field, I'm sure some of you guys were probably even there. Being able to celebrate on the field with the 30,000 or 25,000 people that stayed and watched the game on the two screens there at the Metrodome, and being able to share in their excitement and be able to have that same excitement with them and run around the field. And, it was just a very unique situation that I'm not sure has happened since, where we actually celebrated out on the field with the fans as we're all watching it unfold together. So that was a pretty special moment, probably my favorite moment, and one that I remember the most at the Metro. Sharing the bright spot of my day today too. I walked my dog earlier, and it's about all we can do here. So being able to get out here and talk to you guys is pretty special. It's pretty fun. Jeremy, my favorite piece of memorabilia. Oh, I'm very fortunate to have quite a few pieces of memorabilia, a couple stories. We were playing. We had a game, 2011, against the Yankees in April, and it ended up getting rained out. So after I was player rep at the time, and or I think Kevin Slow was a player rep at the time, but after deliberation of what we were going to do, we decided to come back in June or July to New York to play that game. So we were playing. It was in the middle of a home series at Target Field. Played a game at home, got on the plane, went to New York, played that game, and then we were going to come straight back after that game and play again another game in Minnesota. So we're playing in New York, and we end up losing the game, and Mariano Rivera ends up setting the save record against us that day. And I was one of the guys that got out there in the last inning. And, Scotty Alger was our third base coach, or a bench coach at the time, and he knew that I liked memorabilia, sports memorabilia. So we're walking out of the dugout. We're walking into the clubhouse, and he kind of says, "Hey, Cuddy," here, and he nudged me on the shoulder, and he hands me the lineup card from that game, the one that they exchanged at home plate. And Joe Girardi, signs it at the bottom. So obviously that's one of one. That's the only lineup card with Girardi's signature, the Yankees lineup card in existence. And the next year when I was in Colorado, we played against the Yankees, and I got Mo to sign it for me. So that's a pretty special piece of memorabilia that was given to me. And I think though my favorite, and I've told this story before, we were in Cleveland again. I think it was 2010 or 2011. We're in Cleveland. I think it's 2011. We're Cleveland, and I'm leading off an inning. I think it's like the fourth inning, and Tomey's hitting behind me. And it's a Sunday afternoon, and we're sitting there, and I'm waiting to go up to bat, and I'm watching the pitcher or whatnot. And Big Jim goes, "Hey, Cuddy, you think this is what Lou Gehrig and Babe Ruth felt like on a Sunday afternoon in Cleveland?" I kind of like look at him and like, that's how Jim was. He was a huge, loved history, loved putting himself back in those old days. But I'm like, well, I mean, I don't know. I don't know how they felt. I was like, but we're about to find out how they felt. I end up working a walk. I'm on first base, and he hits his 572nd home run. And, he always likes shaking hands. So he hits home plate. I shake his hand. I slap him on his helmet. It's exactly how they felt. I'm pumped. He's excited. We end up winning the game. And as we, in Cleveland, you got to go up the stairs. And as you go up the stairs, you get into the locker room, and there's your lockers. And I'll be right back. In the locker, is this bat, his 578th home run. And it says, "To Cuddy, it must have been what Ruth and Gehrig felt like. Thanks for keeping it old school." August 8th, so there you go, August 8th, 2010. So this is the actual bat that he used for that home run. So that, I would say, is probably my most special piece of memorabilia, just because of the story, because of what it meant, because of the human being that Jim was, and the relationship that we were able to form. That's a pretty special bat. Thanks for having a great, Dan. Thanks for having a great autograph. Tell today's players to keep it clean, the killer way. Yes, I think I've told that story, 8,000 times. I'm pretty sure everybody can probably recite the story of Harmon telling, but that's how Harmon did it. He came, and Tori's got a legible autograph. Justin's got a legible autograph. Joe, he's told us all. He told us all about it. And I try and get it so everybody can read it. And I don't necessarily tell the younger players how to sign, but I definitely tell them that story, and it's up to them to sign out. Shane, do you remember who you hit your first career home run off of? I hit my first career home run off Jamie Wright in Detroit, opposite field, 2002. They actually brought Jamie Wright in to face me, and Jamie Wright is a left-handed pitcher. So the move at the time didn't really make all that much sense. Not that I was an established hitter or anything like that, but just the sheer fact of bringing in a lefty to face a righty when there was already a righty in didn't make much sense. And fortunately, he was able to throw me a ball in the outer half, and I didn't miss it. So that was a pretty special day. You won't find it. I don't think you'll ever find a player not remember who he hit his first home run off of. So funny story. Actually went into, back then, Comerica's visiting bullpen was in right field, and it went into into our bullpen. So I'm like, sweet, I'm gonna, I don't have to bargain with a fan. I'm gonna get the ball back. And actually, LaTroy Hawkins got it back, and at the time I didn't know it was, but he got a fake ball, got the bullpen to sign it, and wrote something, I can't really repeat on here, but pretty clever. And Denny Hawkins gives it to me on the bench. LaTroy throws it in from the bullpen, gives it to me on the bench, and Denny's like, "Hey, LaTroy, they got your ball. Here it is." And I'm reading it, and it says, first big league home run, Michael Cuddyer, off of a pretty racy name, and so on and so forth. And I'm like, and Denny tells me, he's like, "Dude, it's not real, but here's what you got to do." He says, "Go back," because I was playing right field at the time. And then when you're out there, if you're the right fielder and our bullpen's on the right field side, you play catch with, one of the pitchers or whatnot. So Denny's like, "Go throw it back in there." So I ran out to the field, and I walk up to LaTroy, and I'm like, "I can't believe you guys ruined my first major league home run." And I said, I don't even want this thing anymore. And I chucked it. I threw it probably in the upper deck at Comerica Park. And which was like, "No, man, hey, calm down. And, it was just a way to kind of get back at them for getting back at me. And since then we've had good relationships. So it was kind of fun. Um, yeah, that awesome story about Tommy. Jim was, I mean, Jim's a special person. Anybody that has gotten to talk to Jim or know Jim, Tommy, you know what I'm talking about. This is a guy that he when he hit his 600th home run, he got a lithograph printed and made 25 or 30 of them, and personally autographed it to every single player on the team that was on the team that night. And we're sitting there in December or something like that, and everybody on the team gets it mailed to their house. It's framed, beautiful, beautiful lithograph, and to mine it says, hey Cuddy, something, something, something. Jim told me 600, but he literally did it for every single player on the team. And that's just again two examples of Jim and what makes him so special. Did any of Jim's diet rub off on me? Jim actually eats very well, and works out hard, and was at the field at noon getting ready for a 7 o'clock game. So that was he works pretty hard. Lisa, do you ever see yourself being a coach or a manager at the major league level or professionally? I'm not sure. I'm never gonna count it out. You never say never. You never know what life is gonna present you, or how what you're gonna come across. So I'm not gonna say never. But right now, I've got an 11-year-old son. I've got twin 8-year-old girls. I'm happy with where I am. I'm happy with my position with the club. So as of right now, I don't see in the near future. But again, you never know uh, what's going to happen down the road, and where life's going to take you. So to say never, yeah, I can't do that. But not right now. That's for sure. Jenny, not related to baseball, but what do you love most about photography? Your pics you posted in the past are beautiful. I appreciate that. I do love photography, and now being home for the last 5 years, there's not quite as much to shoot. I'm living in Chesapeake, Virginia, and I've shot just about everything I could. I shoot my kids sometimes, but I'm not really good at shooting people, and I'm better at landscape photography, still photography. Um, but what I love about it is it gives somebody with an artistic mind or an aspiring artist a way to get their picture out there. I can't draw. I can't paint. I can't do anything with my hands. I can't sculpt. Nothing artistically with my hands. So photography allows me to kind of get the picture that's in my head out on a piece of paper or on film or on photograph paper, and allows me to get that vision out of my head. So I think that's what I appreciate the most about photography is it gives us people that don't have any artistic ability with our hands an outlet to be able to show some of their artistic ability. So I appreciate that. Uh, Good stories about having to bargain with fans. Sorry, Aaron asked me if I had any good stories about having to bargain with fans. I never had to bargain to get a ball back or anything like that. But there was at one point, Pat Neshek had. Well, I mean, it's not one point. He still does. Still has his website. He collects autographs. He signs autographs. He's tremendous with the fans when it comes to autographs and trading and cards and all of that. And at one point, um, he had it set up where we could trade some of our stuff to get other people's memorabilia. And at one point, somebody on his website um, wanted a glove of mine, and I didn't really have anything that I wanted, and he actually offered this right here, which is a Michael Jordan signed basketball. And I was like, man, you're getting a raw deal. You're going to give me a Michael Jordan signed basketball for my glove. And lo and behold, it was legit. And so we traded for it, and they got one of my game used gloves, and I've got a Michael Jordan basketball. So that was one part where Nishak helped out. I guess that's a bargaining. I guess we traded, so that's one of the perks that we had, and Nishak's website able to get. Any book plans for the photos that you took in various ballparks? Sharon asked me that. Sharon, I think I have. Let's see here. I apologize for moving all around, but I did actually create a book. Obviously didn't get it published, thought about doing it, and I made it through the batter's eye. Kind of play on words, obviously. This is one of Camden here. So I did make a book of some of the photos that I took. Could not, while I was playing, I could not get and I didn't really explore it too much, a publisher to publish the book or do anything. I have ran through different ideas of publishing it and putting it in all the pro shops or all the shops of all the stadiums, the stadium gift shops and apparel shops, and actually doing a signing with the book and giving it to charity, all the money to charity, but unfortunately it didn't come to fruition. And now I didn't take one of every single National League stadium. I've got all the American League stadiums, but I didn't get one of all the National League stadiums, and I wish I had, but I didn't. And I didn't come up with a book of all the National League stadiums. But I would love to have done that, and who knows, in the future maybe you're able to do something like that, but I haven't yet. But I did make one for myself. It's a pretty cool coffee book and coffee table book, I should say. And so it's a good conversation piece. Sorry if you hear my dog barking in the background. She goes a little crazy, so I apologize. Jeff, they played 2019 game, or 2009. I hope you mean. Game 163 today. Do you watch old replays of the game that you played? I haven't watched. I've not recently. I haven't. I haven't watched any, but I remember you. If you brought up a play, if you brought up an at bat throughout my career, it instantly would pop up in my brain and pop up in my mind. So I would remember. I remember pretty much everything. If you gave me a situation, I would remember it. But I don't watch too many of the replays. I don't watch too many old games. I don't know why. There's no reason. I just haven't gotten around to it. Garrett, what was your favorite style of uniform to wear in Minnesota? In 2004, we wore actually the uniforms that they're bringing back this year, the baby blues. We wore them for a weekend in Baltimore. I think those were the coolest ones, just because of the retro style. But I think my favorite were the cream ones, the old throwbacks. The year that Harmon passed away, that was obviously one of our alternatives uniforms. And once Harmon passed away, I went into Dave St. Peter's office and I asked him as a tribute to Harmon, if we could just wear those uniforms the rest of the year. Obviously, Dave being the tremendous person and tremendous leader and tremendous person of giving back to the organization, and the knowledgeable historian that he is in the Twins organization, obliged and agreed, thought it was a great idea. And if you remember, in 2011, the rest of the year, we wore those throwbacks. So I think those are my favorite ones. And, it was kind of cool. That was the first time I made the All-Star team, and being able to obviously have my uniform, and we were wearing grays because it was in Arizona, but having the number 3 on my sleeve in my first All-Star game was pretty cool, pretty special to me, and it'll be a jersey that I always remember. Toby asked, what was my favorite memory of the old Metrodome? We went over that, and do I have any of the seats from it? Actually, Sean from Fan HQ I'm not sure who was the artist, but I do still keep this in my office, which was very very special, very very cool. Um, Very appreciative that that was given. This is also one of my favorite moments from game 163 here, so that's pretty cool as well. But I've got old pictures. One of these, you know, pictures of Morney and Joe when they won MVPs and stuff, and there's a lot of great memories, obviously. Here, Jenny asked, "What was a ballpark you never got to play in but wish you did?" I think if you ask any player to talk about an old ballpark that they wish they'd played in, I think the Polo Grounds would probably be the first thing to come to mind, just because of how the dimensions were and how weird. I mean, any of those old parks, Ebbets Field, um, Sportsman Park, Crosley Field. I mean, any of those old parks, I just would love to have been able to see what that was like in those times, with the fans right on you, and just the different era of baseball and the different style of baseball. I would have loved to have seen what that was like. Paul asked, best memory of opening day 2010 when we opened up Target Field. Just the excitement. I mean, one, it was a beautiful day, but just the excitement of everybody being outside, seeing the sun shining on the white uniforms was a little bit different. We obviously did it in spring training, but to see it in a major league stadium, the sun shining on the white uniforms that's pretty cool. And then obviously knocking in Denard to have the first RBI in Target Field was pretty special as well. So another special moment. Chris asked, will I encourage my children to play sports competitively? And if so, what advice would you give young people? Thank you. Yes, I encourage my kids to try anything and everything they want. I am a firm believer. I feel like every kid should play at least one team sport at some point in their life, and at least one individual sport at some point in their life. Just to be able to, there's different benefits and different negatives about each one. I feel like every kid should be exposed to that, the accountability of playing the sport by yourself, whether it be golf or tennis or swimming, knowing that the only person that wins and loses in that is yourself. Wrestling, I wrestled when I was a kid, and that was a huge influence in my life. And I also think every kid should play a team sport, learning how to be on a team, learning how to play with others, learning how to deal with different cultures. Best advice I can give young people talking about playing sports competitively is to enjoy what you're doing. I talked at a mental health conference a week ago or 2 weeks ago, and talked about my story at the major leagues in 2005. I struggled. Probably many of you guys remember that. It was the first time I got a chance to play every day with no strings attached, and I struggled mentally. Anxiety. I didn't want to come to the field. I struggled with it. Pressure, and it mounted up because I was so worried about myself. I was so worried about my numbers, if I was going to get sent down again, all these things. I couldn't imagine feeling like that at 12 or at 11 years old. The amount of pressure that's put on a lot of these kids to succeed and to be exceptional or elite, that's a lot to take. And I was 26 years old and struggled with it, and was more equipped to deal with those pressures than a 12-year-old and 11-year-old. So I do get sensitive and worry about some of these kids with the pressure that's being put on them at these young ages to pick one sport at 10 years old or 9 years old, and you have to do that sport, and you can only do that sport because you're going to be the best one there ever is. It's a lot of pressure to put on a 9-year-old. So my best advice is just do what you love, have passion what you love, play what you love, work at it, but experience everything. Try it all. Last thing you want to do is be 22 years old and man, I wish I'd played X, or man, I wish I'd, done the trumpet or trombone or whatever, violin. Do it all. Experience anything. If you have an interest in it, do it, because you never know which one you're going to love the most. Um, let's see. We've got ever eat. Garrett asked me if I ever got to eat hot dogs from different stadiums, and if so, who had the best one? Nah, there were some clubhouses where you'd have hot dogs down into the stadium. They brought Dodger dogs down there all the time, which not the greatest. Plus, by the time we were eating them, the game was probably already about 45 minutes over, and some of them dogs had probably been sitting there for about 3 hours. So I can't imagine we didn't get the best taste test of a lot of those samples. But I will say, when we went to go play in New York against the Mets, and they'd bring those Shake Shack burgers, um, those were pretty special. Those are pretty good. Sharon asks, do we always have such healthy meals at the ballpark like they do now? And that is absolutely not true. Good food, yes. Healthy food, not so much. I mean, you walk into any visiting clubhouse back in our time, it was like walking into 7-Eleven. I mean, it was every kind of snack, every kind of candy bar, whatever you wanted. It was basically at your fingertips there, and you know, we took advantage sometimes, unfortunately. But now, no, it's way healthier than it was in our time, and it's not that many years ago. All right, I got time for maybe two or three more, about four or five more minutes, and then I'm gonna head out and maybe go on another walk with my dog. Maybe play catch out in the front yard or something. Let's see what we've got. John asks, including managers, who is your favorite coach or coaches that you played for and against? That's a good. Well, obviously, Guardy was who I had the longest and ended up having the longest rapport with. And the thing I loved about Guardy is he understood that there was more to life than Major League Baseball. He cared about your families. He cared about what was going on in your families. If you had something going on in your families, he allowed you to take care of it without any repercussions on the field. So that was he was very special in that sense. Walt Weiss was one of my favorite managers with the Rockies. He used to bring in speakers in spring training, motivational speakers or different kinds of people to talk to us. And one of those speakers had a huge impact in my career, albeit late in my career, but fortunately he did have a huge impact. And I feel like that speaker, who was an MMA fighter, had a direct impact on me winning the batting title that one year in Colorado. So he was good. All the coaches that we had when I was in Minnesota were great. Steve Little, Scotty Olgers, Jerry White, Joe Vavra. I mean, all of them had huge impacts on my career and in my life in general. So there weren't any coaches I could say that I disliked or that I wasn't able to take something from to help not only my game but also my life. And that's a good thing about baseball is you come in contact with so many different people and you're able to build so many relationships that they're lifelong relationships that will take me and lifelong lessons that will take me and hopefully I can pass down to my kids and the kids that are on my son's baseball teams and my daughter's gymnastics, things that they can do. Hopefully I can pass those lessons down to them. Evie asks, what are my thoughts about being inducted into the Twins Hall of Fame? Well, it's humbling. That was, for me, the pinnacle of my career, without a question. Especially 2005. Yeah, 2005. I didn't think I was going to get under the contract, to be honest with you, in the off season. I was arbitration eligible, and I briefly talked about that season. It wasn't the greatest season of my life. So I was really worried that I was going to get non-tendered and, go on that cycle of playing with different teams in spring training. Fortunately, that didn't happen. 2006 was a complete 180, and then to now find myself inducted into the organization's Hall of Fame. was very special, very, very special because of what this organization meant to me, and also what you fans mean to me. No matter what I was going through, whether it was the first day I got called up to the big leagues or the last day I was there, or in Colorado or New York when I would see Twins jerseys in the stands. Twins fans were always special to me and always treated me well, and for that I treated my family well, and treated us like we were their own, and I'll always forever be grateful for that, and to have that topped off, being inducted into the Hall of Fame, man, I can't tell you what it meant to me, and how special that day was, and how special that fraternity is. Not just the Hall of Fame fraternity, but just being a former Minnesota Twin, and being part of the history and being part of Twins territory forever and ever and ever truly means a lot. And I think that is a great way to end this. Thank you all for joining. Thank you all for your questions, for breaking up the day. I know we're all stuck inside, and unfortunately, there's bigger things going on in the world. Keep your distance, do what we can do to try and curb this thing, and so we can all enjoy our lives again, and enjoy watching baseball, hopefully, when it comes back. So thank you guys again, and I hope you all have a great day.